Hello dear students and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we shall do synthesis of sentences to form complex sentences. Now students, what are complex sentences? Complex sentences are at least two sentences that are joined together. कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंसेस बनाने के लिए हमें कम से कम दो वाक्यों की जरूरत है और उनको कंबाइन करके एक नया सेंटेंस बना सकते हैं। तो कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस में बच्चों एक इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज होता है और एटलीस्ट एक डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज होगा। इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज का मतलब है इट डज नॉट नीड टू डिपेंड ऑन एनी अदर क्लॉज टू कन्वे इट्स मीनिंग। इट इज अ कंप्लीट सेंटेंस ऑन इट्स ओन। उसके पास खुद का सब्जेक्ट एंड प्रेडिकेट पार्ट है और एक फाइनाइट वर्ब भी है। इट डज नॉट डिपेंड ऑन एनी अदर क्लॉज टू कन्वे इट्स मीनिंग। डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज क्या है स्टूडेंट्स? वो क्लॉज होता है जो किसी और वाक्य पर निर्भर है अपना मीनिंग बताने के लिए। नाउ what exactly is a complex sentence? A complex sentence is one which will have a subordinate clause. Subordinate मतलब एक मेन वाक्य के नीचे, सब मतलब नीचे, so something which is beneath another main part of a sentence is called as a subordinate clause. A sentence that has one main clause and one or more subordinate clauses is called a complex sentence. एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे देखेंगे, दो ही वर्कड हार्ड ही फेल्ड इन द एग्जाम। व्हेन आई वेंट इन आई फाउंड हर वॉचिंग टीवी। अब देखिए बच्चों, पहला सेंटेंस में पहले पार्ट को देखेंगे, दो ही वर्कड हार्ड। क्या इससे आपको कुछ समझ में आ रहा है कि क्या बताना चाह रहा है ये सेंटेंस? ये वाक्य आपको मीनिंगफुल लग रहा है? नहीं। दो ही वर्कड हार्ड तो क्या हुआ, इसका रिजल्ट क्या है, उससे क्या हुआ, कुछ नहीं पता चल रहा है। लेकिन when we join this though he worked hard with he failed in the exam, हमें एक मीनिंगफुल सेंटेंस मिलता है जो समझाता है कि उसने कड़ी मेहनत किया फिर भी वो एग्जाम में फेल हो गया। अब दूसरा एग्जाम्पल देखिए, when I went in I found her watching TV. Now when I went in, ये फर्स्ट पार्ट, ये फर्स्ट क्लॉज है जो कि आपका डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज है या फिर सबऑर्डिनेट क्लॉज है। क्यों? क्योंकि व्हेन आई वेंट इन क्या हुआ, कहाँ गई, कुछ हुआ क्या, किसी से मिली क्या, कुछ कन्वे नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, सिर्फ अगर मैं बोलूं व्हेन आई वेंट इन। बट अगर मैं ये व्हेन आई वेंट इन को आई फाउंड हर वॉचिंग टीवी के साथ जोड़ू तो मुझे ये समझ में आ रहा है कि व्हेन आई वेंट इन आई फाउंड हर वॉचिंग टीवी। So this whole sentence, that means the combination of a subordinate clause along with an independent clause is conveying the full meaning of the sentence. Now, as we know, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that contains both a subject and a predicate. Subject क्या होता है सेंटेंस में जिसके बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं? Predicate part is that part of the sentence which has the verb in it. Verb क्या होता है? Action word. Now, clauses are simple sentences which means they have a subject and a verb of their own. Whenever it rains, I like to wear my raincoat. इसमें एक ही main clause है, at least one subordinate clause है and both are connected to each other by a subordinating conjunction. यहाँ पर ये जो एग्जाम्पल है ये आपका एक कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस का एग्जाम्पल है। Whenever it rains, इससे हमें कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, बट अगर मैं इसको जोड़ू आई लाइक टू वेयर माई रेनकोट, देन आई गेट टू नो द फुल मीनिंग दैट जब भी बारिश होती है मुझे मेरा रेनकोट पहनना अच्छा लगता है। और यहाँ पर इन दोनों मेन क्लॉज यहाँ पे क्या है? आई लाइक टू वेयर माई रेनकोट इज द मेन क्लॉज। क्यों? इसमें आई सब्जेक्ट है एंड प्रेडिकेट पार्ट लाइक टू वेयर माई रेनकोट है जिसमें वर्ब लाइक है और वेयर है। ठीक है, अब बच्चों यहाँ पर जब ये मेन क्लॉज को मैं जोड़ूंगी व्हेनेवर इट रेन्स जो आपका सबऑर्डिनेट क्लॉज है तो ये जाके बनता है आपका कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस। लेकिन मैं इन दोनों को किस वर्ड से जोड़ रही हूँ? एक कंजंक्शन के साथ जोड़ रही हूँ। कंजंक्शन मतलब लिंकर, जो लिंक करता है दो सेंटेंसेस, दो वर्ड्स या दो फ्रेजेस को। तो यहाँ पर जो लिंकिंग वर्ड है या जो सबऑर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन है वो है व्हेनेवर। व्हेनेवर इट रेन्स आई लाइक टू वेयर माई रेनकोट। Look at the second example. The dog barks when the postman arrives. अब यहाँ पर जोड़ रहा है हमारा दो क्लॉजेस को, द डॉग बार्क्स एंड द पोस्टमैन अराइव्स, दो क्लॉजेस को जोड़ रहा है हमारा सबऑर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन व्हेन. Now, independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. Independent clause मतलब independent मतलब क्या? Not dependent on anything else. Not dependent on anything else for what? To convey its meaning. ठीक है, तो ये सेंटेंस अपने आप में ही अपना मीनिंग कन्वे कर सकता है. क्यों? क्योंकि उसके पास एक सब्जेक्ट है और एक वर्ब है और वो एक मीनिंगफुल सेंटेंस बनता है कुछ ग्रुप ऑफ वर्ड्स को जोड़ के. सो इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज को हम बच्चों बोलते प्रिंसिपल क्लॉज भी और मेन क्लॉज भी बोलते हैं. But dependent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb but cannot express a complete thought and it cannot be called a sentence also. Sentence किसे कहते हैं? जो एक meaning convey कर सके. तो dependent clause जो होता है कुछ meaning convey नहीं करेगा even though it is a group of words having a subject and a verb. And when we join this independent clause and a dependent clause by a subordinating conjunction, it forms a complete new sentence, which is a complex sentence. Now, examples of few subordinating conjunctions are after, although, as if, as long as much as soon as though, because, before, even if, even though, how, if, in as much as, in order that, lest, now that, provided, since, so that, then, that, though, till, unless, until, when, whenever, where, wherever, and while. So please try to register these subordinating conjunctions because we will be using them in our complex sentences. Now, synthesis of complex sentence is you just have to remember the main thing is that it will have a principal clause or a main clause or an independent clause joined by a subordinating conjunction to one or more subordinate clauses. The subordinate clauses are of three kinds. एक noun clause, दूसरा adjective clause और तीसरा adverb clause. तो synthesis of complex sentences जानने के लिए हमें ये तीन तरह के subordinate clauses को समझना होगा. अब पहला हम जानते हैं और समझते हैं how do we understand the synthesis or the combination of complex sentences by using your noun clause. Now, a noun clause is introduced by the conjunction that. ठीक है, तो जो कंजंक्शन या लिंकिंग वर्ड होता है मेन एक नाउन क्लॉज में वो है दैट और दूसरा है इट इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय अ रिलेटिव और इंटरोगेटिव प्रोनाउन. रिलेटिव और इंटरोगेटिव प्रोनाउंस आर हु, वेयर, विच, हाउ, व्हाई, व्हेन, whom, whose, that and whatever. Interrogative मतलब क्वेश्चन करना. Interrogate means to question, to ask. So what are your asking or questioning words? Who, where, which, how, why, when, whom, whose, whatever, and that are your relative pronouns. और by a relative और interrogative adverb. Adverb क्या काम करता है? वो verbs को modify करते हैं. And fourth by the conjunction if and whether. So noun clause के चार forms क्या है? एक तो it is introduced by the conjunction that, second by a relative or interrogative pronoun, third by a relative or interrogative adverb, and fourth by the conjunction or linking words if and whether. ये चार चीज अगर है तो हम उसे noun clause मानते हैं. Now, what we need to understand is that the subordinate clause in the sentence functions as the noun. Now, every sentence has to have a noun. So, the noun clause which we are talking about, that is understood by the subordinate clause in the sentence. Very important thing to remember, students, is that on questioning what to the main verb. Why are we asking what to the main verb? Because main verb is the action word. So, when we ask what to the main verb or the action being done, the answer that we get should be in the noun clause. For example, he may be innocent, I do not know. So, you will ask, do you know whether he is innocent, I do not know whether he is innocent is the answer. So this is the noun clause. He is wrong, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it that he is wrong. Someone stole my bag, I don't know him. I don't know who stole my bag. So like I said, that noun clause can be introduced by your subordinating conjunctions that, or by your relative or interrogative pronouns who, or by whether also. So these are a few examples of noun clauses. Now let us do an exercise on noun clauses to further clear your concepts. Virtue has its own reward. It is certain. How do we understand that this is a complex sentence? Because virtue has its own reward एक independent clause है. इससे हमें समझ में आ रहा है meaning. It is certain जो हमारा डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज है, सबॉर्डिनेट क्लॉज है, इससे हमें यह समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि क्या सर्टन है. लेकिन अगर हम इन दोनों सेंटेंसेस को जोड़ेंगे एक सबॉर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन के साथ और एक न्यू सेंटेंस बनाएंगे जो कि सिंथेसिस हो रहा है या कॉम्बिनेशन हो रहा है, तो हम एक नाउन क्लॉज को कैसे इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं? बाय यूजिंग द सबॉर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन दैट. सो ये जो सेंटेंस है ये जब कंबाइन होगा या सिंथेसाइज होगा बन जाएगा इट इज सर्टन दैट वर्च्यू हैज इट्स ओन रिवॉर्ड. ठीक है, क्योंकि अगर हम इसमें क्वेश्चन करेंगे कि व्हाट इज डज वर्च्यू हैव इट्स ओन रिवॉर्ड, यस इट इज सर्टन दैट वर्च्यू हैज इट्स ओन रिवॉर्ड. सेकंड, शाहजहां बिल्ट द ताज एट आगरा. इट इज वेल नोन व्हाई. अब इन दोनों स्टेटमेंट्स को स्टडी करेंगे. शाहजहां बिल्ट द ताज एट आगरा, इससे हमें समझ में आ रहा है कि शाहजहां जो है उन्होंने ताजमहल आगरा में बनाया था. ये जो दूसरा पार्ट है सबऑर्डिनेट क्लॉज, इट इज वेल नोन व्हाई. अगर ये अकेला कोई मीनिंग कन्वे कर सकता है क्या? नहीं. हम किसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, क्या बात कर रहे हैं, ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. बट अगर हम इसको जोड़ेंगे शाहजहां बिल्ट द ताज एट आगरा, इट इज वेल नोन व्हाई जो है और भी मीनिंगफुल बन सकता है जब हम उसे एक इंटरोगेटिव प्रोनाउन के साथ या एडवर्ब के साथ जोड़ेंगे. इट इज वेल नोन व्हाई शाहजहां बिल्ट द ताज एट आगरा. ठीक है. There should be no spelling mistakes in your answer. Always remember this. There should be no spelling mistakes in your answer is the independent clause. इससे मीनिंग हमें समझ में आ रहा है. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस, ये बस ये स्टेटमेंट अगर मैं बोलूंगी आपको ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस, व्हाट आर यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग? नथिंग. क्या रिमेंबर करना है, किसे रिमेंबर करना है, क्यों रिमेंबर करना है, कहाँ रिमेंबर करना है, वी डोंट नो एनीथिंग. बट इफ वी कंबाइन दिस ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दिस विथ देयर शुड बी नो स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स इन योर आंसर, सिंथेसाइज कर रहे हैं विथ द सबऑर्डिनेटेड कंजंक्शन दैट, तो ये मीनिंगफुल बन जाएगा. कैसे? ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट there should be no spelling mistakes in your answer. Number 4, the well was deep. Independent clause है ये. No one knew its depth. Subordinate clause है, इसको अपने आप पे कोई मीनिंग नहीं है. तो इन दोनों को हम सिंथेसाइज या कंबाइन करेंगे by no one knew how deep the well was. Fifth, you saw him, that is most probable. You saw him, independent clause, that is most probable, subordinate clause. Now, what is the subordinating conjunction which we will be using to combine or synthesize these two sentences? It is most probable that you saw him. Number 6, the train will arrive at a certain time. Do you know the time? Do you know when the train will arrive? ठीक है. You have made a mistake. I think so. I think that you have made a mistake. You have made a mistake आपका independent clause है. I think so आपका dependent clause है. इसीलिए आपका dependent clause के साथ start होगा. I think that you have made a mistake. We met him in the bank. It was fortunate that we did. It was fortunate that we met him in the bank. दो बार we met him, we did रिपीट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. एक ही बार में आप बोलेंगे it was fortunate that. that जो है आपका subordinating conjunction है. We met him in the bank. We heard that the enemy was approaching. This news alarmed us. तो हम क्या करेंगे? हमारा पहले आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज कौन सा है. वी हर्ड दैट द एनिमी वाज अप्रोचिंग, इससे मीनिंग बन रहा है तो ये आपका इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज है. दिस न्यूज अलार्म्ड अस, ऑन इट्स ओन कुछ मीनिंग बता रहा है? नहीं. क्या न्यूज, कैसे न्यूज, कहां का न्यूज, कुछ नहीं. सो दिस न्यूज अलार्म्ड अस, इसके साथ हम स्टार्ट करेंगे. द न्यूज दैट द एनिमी वाज अप्रोचिंग अलार्म्ड अस. दिस इज हाउ यू विल अप्रोच. The game was lost. It was the consequence of his carelessness. The game was lost एक इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज है. इट वॉज द कॉन्सिक्वेंस ऑफ हिज केयरलेसनेस, सबऑर्डिनेट क्लॉज है. सो It was the consequence of his carelessness that the game was lost. Okay, so this is how you will do your noun clauses exercises. How? By first identifying which is the main clause, which is the independent clause, and then by identifying which is the subordinate or the dependent clause. Then you will find ways of linking both these sentences by subordinating conjunctions, and you will start the statement with the dependent clause first, and then put the subordinating junction, and then write the independent of the main clause by changing its tense and form. Now, by using adjective clauses, how can we synthesize or combine sentences to form complex sentences? Adjective clauses students do the work of adjectives. Adjectives क्या है? Describing words से. किसको describe करते हैं? Noun या pronoun को. कहाँ पर? जो प्रेजेंट है आपके मेन प्रिंसिपल या इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज में. एडजेक्टिव क्लॉज जो होते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, ऑलवेज स्टार्ट्स विद अ रिलेटिव प्रोनाउन या तो एडवर्ब. रिलेटिव प्रोनाउंस क्या है? They introduce a relative clause, which is a group of relative pronouns introduce a relative clause. What is a relative clause? It is a group of words that provides more information about a noun or a noun phrase. Example, this is the house which Ram built. Which is the noun in this sentence? Ram. And relative pronoun is which introduces the relative clause which Ram built. This is the house which Ram built is the relative clause. Some examples of relative pronouns are whom, which, whose, that, where, when, whoever, and whomever. Now, one more example is relative adverbs. What do relative adverbs do? They either modify the subject or appear in the predicate part of the sentence. What is the predicate part of the sentence? Which contains the action word or the verb. Now, when, where, and why are your relative adverbs. You need to remember when, where, and why. Example, I went to the place where I would find him. And this relative adverb where qualifies the predicate part I went to the place. Why? Because I went to the place is having the verb went. Now let us do an exercise on adjective clauses, which will further clear your concepts. Your sentences are, that is the school I was taught there. These are two sentences. We need to do the synthesis or combination of these two sentences to make them into a single sentence. That is the school where I was taught. Now, since we are using where, that means where I was taught becomes the relative clause, which is introduced by the relative pronoun where. To modify what? To modify the noun, which is your school. So that is the school where I was taught. You put it somewhere is one sentence. Show me the place is the other sentence. Now we need to combine these two sentences. Show me the place where you put it. Now your relative pronoun is where and the adjective clause is where you put it, because it is qualifying or modifying the noun place. A lion was proud of his strength. He despised the weakness of the mouse. Now, a lion who was proud of his strength despised the weakness of the mouse. Here your relative pronoun is your who, which is modifying the adjective clause proud of his strength. Now, the time was 6 o'clock. The accident happened then. So we have to combine these two statements into a single statement. The time when the accident happened was 6 o'clock, because we can use your relative pronoun when also, which qualifies the adjective clause when the accident happened. And it is telling us the time when the accident happened was 6 o'clock. Number 5. The theft was committed last night. The man has been caught. The man who committed the theft last night has been caught. The relative pronoun is who, and the adjective clause is who committed the theft last night. So this is how you will approach your adjective clause exercises. Next is by using adverb clauses. Adverb clause is a very important concept in your English grammar, students. It is a subordinate clause. It does the work of an adverb. It modifies the verb adjective or adverb in the main clause or the principal clauses. Now, there are 9 different kinds of adverb clauses. We will do in detail each one of them, starting with adverb clause of time. Now, the subordinate conjunction which is used for adverb clause of time are when, while, until, till, after, before, since, as soon as, no sooner than, whenever. You need to keep these things in mind. Let us do an example. Before you go, bring me some water. Now, before you go is the adverb clause or the subordinate clause. Why? Because we are not understanding anything by just when we say before you go. Before becomes your subordinate conjunction, and the main clause is bring me some water. Bring me some water before you go is the complete sentence. Now, adverb clause of place, where, whereas, whence, wherever, wheresoever, and whither. Examples of adverb clause of places: I have put it where I can find it. Now, in this whole sentence, I have put it is the main clause. We can understand something out of this main clause. Where is the subordinate conjunction which is linking these two sentences? I have put it and I can find it again. I can find it again is your subordinate clause, which is defined by your subordinate conjunction where to give meaning to I have put it. So, you can put it wherever you like, is a second example. Adverb clause of purpose is uses the subordinate conjunction that, so that, in order that, lest. Example, I will give you a map so that you can find your way. There is a purpose of the map being given to you. For what? So that you can find your way. So that is the adverb clause of purpose. We eat so that we may live. हम क्यों खाते हैं? ताकि हम जिंदा रह सकें. So that is the subordinate clause conjunction, and it is so that we may live is the adverb clause of purpose. Now, adverb clause of cause or reason. Subordinate conjunction is because, as, since, and that. Examples: I did it because I wanted to. Because I like you, I shall help you. I am glad that you like it. These are all your adverb clause of cause or reason, which give a reason for it to be done. Adverb clause of result. Subordinate conjunctions used are that, so that, and such that. All these things you have to remember and register. So is added to adjective or adverb, and such is always added to nouns. This one basic difference has to be kept in mind. Examples: they fought bravely, the enemy were driven off. They fought so bravely. Why? Because we add so for either adjectives or adverbs. And as we know, adverbs end in ly, so it will be they fought so bravely that the enemy were driven off. He is a good man, all respect him. He is such a good man that all respect him. Now, man is a noun, therefore we use such in front of nouns. So, he is such a good man that all respect him. Adverb clause of manner. Subordinate conjunction used for this is as if, as though. Examples: you may do as you please. He will do as you tell him. Now, adverb clause of comparison. Subordinate conjunctions used are as, so, as, and than. She is intelligent. She is beautiful. She is as intelligent as she is beautiful. He is stupid. He is lazy. He is as stupid as he is lazy. It will happen. Death is sure. It will happen as sure as death. Adverb clause of contrast, where the subordinate conjunctions used are though, although, even if, even though, and however. Examples: he is poor, he is happy. Now, poor and happy are two contrasting emotions. Though he is poor, he is happy. Next is adverb clause of condition, where the subordinate conjunctions are if or unless, provided that, on condition that, so long as, in case. Now, example for this is he works hard, he will pass. If he works hard, he will pass. That is a condition placed in this. Therefore, the subordinate conjunction is if. अगर उसने मेहनत किया तो वो पास होगा. So with this, students, we come to the end of your adverb clauses also. And in this video, we did how to synthesize sentences of complex sentences. Now, if you like my channel, please like, share and subscribe. And in this playlist of synthesis of sentences, you will find the detailed videos of simple sentences synthesis, compound sentence synthesis, and complex sentence synthesis, along with a video of solved examples attached in the playlist. Please go through all this in detail. Go through each and every video minimum 2 times each so that your concepts are clear. Please let me know in the comment section what other topics you want videos on. Thank you, students, and all the best.